On the morning of June 5, 2000, Sharon and Schutz arrived at work, just like any other day. She pressed close, she greeted customers, she smiled. By 12:30 that afternoon, she was lying on the floor behind the counter, shot in the back, her life draining away, the cash register emptied of just $200. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. And for the next 22 years, nobody was held accountable. But here is what makes this case deeply unsettling. Not just as a crime, but as a window into human psychology. The man who took Sharon's life was not a stranger lurking in the shadows. He was a neighbor, a veteran, a family man. Someone people trusted. Psychologists have long studied what they call the mask of normalcy, the ability of certain individuals to present a completely ordinary, even admirable exterior to the world, while harboring the capacity for extreme violence. This is not fiction. It is a documented behavioral pattern seen repeatedly in criminal psychology. Research shows that dangerous individuals often integrate deeply into their communities. They volunteer, they help neighbors, they maintain families and steady employment. This social embedding is not accidental, consciously or not. It creates a shield, a reputation, a layer of protection that makes suspicion almost impossible. The mask does not mean the person is always planning harm, but it does mean that when desperation, greed, or impulse strikes, the mask makes them invisible. Sharon and Schutz's case is a near-perfect illustration of this phenomenon. Sharon was born on October 19, 1945, in Leona, to her parents Leslie. She grew up in St. Louis, Michigan, one of 7 siblings, raised in a close, ordinary American household. At some point in her adult life, she made her way south to Greenville County, South Carolina, where she built a quiet life of her own. She raised 4 children. She worked hard. She was known by her neighbors and regulars as warm, dependable, and kind. In 1990, she endured one of the most devastating losses a parent can face, the death of her son Frank in an accident. Yet she carried on, she showed up, she kept working. By the year 2000, Sharon was 54 years old, and had spent years as an employee at John Butler Dry Cleaners on Easley Bridge Road, a small, familiar business that served the local community. On the morning of June 5, 2000, she reported to work as usual. At approximately 12:30 in the afternoon, an elderly customer walked in to collect his laundry. He immediately noticed something wrong. The store was unusually quiet. He stepped behind the counter and found Sharon on the floor, blood pooling beneath her. He ran to the neighboring store and called 911. When officers arrived, they found Sharon had been shot in the back. The cash register was open and empty. Approximately $200 was missing. Investigators dusted the register and counter for fingerprints. They interviewed witnesses, but nobody recalled anything unusual. No suspicious figures. No sounds. Nothing. The case went cold almost immediately. Sharon's body was returned to Michigan on June 7, 2000, for a private family memorial. Her sister Sandy Sanders collapsed when she received the news. In the days that followed, Sandy pleaded publicly for answers. "We want to find the person who took her from us," she said. "We want justice." The case sat dormant for 22 years. In 2022, Sheriff Hobart Lewis reorganized the Greenville County Cold Case Division. With new forensic technology and renewed resources, investigators began revisiting unsolved cases across the region. Sharon's case was among 9 selected for a fresh review. The latent fingerprints lifted from the cash register to decades earlier were run through updated databases. One set of prints could not be matched to any dry cleaners employee, past or present. Investigators began re-interviewing old witnesses and tracking down new ones. A name surfaced: Roger Keith Hudgens. Hudgens had grown up in Greenville. He was born on July 14, 1955. He served in the United States Air Force. He worked as a medical supplies salesman. He was married. He had children. He had no criminal record whatsoever. At the time of Sharon's murder, he was 44 years old. Recent witnesses recalled that Hudgens regularly performed odd jobs around the neighborhood, including taking out the garbage at the dry cleaners. He was a familiar face, a trusted presence. When investigators ran his prints through the system, they found a match. The unidentified prints on the cash register belonged to Roger Keith Hudgens. There was only one problem. Hudgens had died in 2008, at age 52, from medical complications. On January 6, 2023, authorities officially named Roger Keith Hudgens as the man who robbed and murdered Sharon and Schutz. It was, as investigators described it, a bittersweet moment. Sheriff Hobart Lewis addressed Sharon's family directly at the press conference. "I hope Miss Sharon and Schutz's family may take comfort in the knowledge that her murderer was identified," he said. "I want the families of fallen victims to know we will never give up." Roger Hudgens was not a monster from a distance. He was a veteran, a neighbor, a family man, the kind of person nobody suspects. And that is precisely the lesson psychology asks us to sit with. Dangerous behavior does not always wear a recognizable face. It does not always announce itself. Sometimes it is embedded in the most ordinary-looking life, waiting for a moment of desperation, greed, or impulse to reveal itself. Sharon Ann Schutz went to work that Monday morning with no reason to fear the people around her. The man who killed her for $200 was someone she likely recognized. She deserved better. She deserved justice. And it came after 22 years later, imperfect justice.